The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Oh, hell no!
Whatever.
The following program contains opinions expressed by the Dead Zone. If you find this broadcast offensive, lighten up, candy ass.
What?
Oh my gosh.
It's a radio show.
Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about.
Power up request received. Initiating systems. Powering up transmitters. Welcome to the Dead Zone.
Wait a minute.
Hear this.
Dead Zone Paranormal Radio Show. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight we're going to have an old friend of the show, Keith Evans. He's an author and a paranormal... I did it again.
Oh my gosh.
A paranormal researcher. Lord. And Michelle, of course, with the paranormal news. And we're going to throw in a track or two from maybe Void Vader or some of our other house bands. So stick around. Enjoy it.
Yo, what's going on, guys? This is your man Vincent M. Ward, and you're listening to The Dead Zone.
Paranormal news.
Hey guys, I was doing some research trying to find a recent paranormal news article that I could read for you guys and talk about, but I really only found one that was of any interest to me on Coast to Coast AM. This was posted June 17th, 2021. Murder suspect in England blames centuries-old gin for double slaying. A murder suspect in England has put forward something of a strange supernatural defense for a double slaying that he is accused of committing, as the man contends that a centuries-old jinn is really responsible for the crime. According to a local media report, here we go again with names that I cannot pronounce, Shahbaz Khan is currently on trial for the murders of Dr. Saman Mir Sakarvi and her daughter Vian Mongrio, who were killed in October of 2020 in the community of Burnley. A contractor by trade who had done previous work at the family's home, he had been seen entering the residence on the day prior to the crime, and in a subsequent search of his house was discovered to be in possession of jewelry and money that had belonged to Dr. Sakarvi. Prosecutors in England understandably believe that they have an airtight case against Khan, which likely explains why he contends that a jinn was actually to blame for the double murder. Upon his arrest, Khan was placed in a jail cell wherein he threw himself across the room and onto his bed in an incident that he claimed was an attack by an invisible evil entity. In an interview with police the next day, the accused killer began undulating and informed them that they were speaking to a 620-year-old supernatural spirit named Robert Smith Wood, who happened to live in Dr. Sakarvi's home. The entity went on to claim that he had grown upset with alterations made to the residence and, in turn, smashed a mirror as well as moved a table to indicate his displeasure with the changes. At some point following the interview, Khan apparently reclaimed control of his body, as he later insisted that he had no idea how the mother and daughter were killed. Asserting that they were perfectly fine when he left the residence, he argued that the jinn infesting their home must have committed the crime. As one might imagine, prosecutors are not buying Khan's story, arguing to the jury at his currently unfolding trial that the man's actions while in custody were simply his way of trying to set up his defense to say he had been attacked in his cell by a supernatural spirit. They went on to muse to the court, was it real in his head that he threw himself across his cell to his bed, or was it a feeble attempt to pretend there was something wrong with his mental state? Ultimately, they called Khan's defense absolute nonsense, declaring that Dr. Sakarvi and her daughter were not killed by supernatural spirits. Beyond the pilfered property found in the man's possession, prosecutors also suggest premeditation on the part of the accused killer, as, following the double murder, the family's home had been set on fire, while web searches on his phone centered around whether or not fire could destroy DNA. And so, unless Khan's attorney can somehow find a way to get Robert the Jinn to take the stand, he's likely to be headed off to prison in the not-too-distant future. Now, I tried to find out if there were any other recent reports of demonic possession being claimed as the reasoning behind their actions. And what I did find was on WOWO.com. This is a radio station. They did a very short story back in November 15, 2018, called Suspect Claims Demonic Possession in Murder Case. This was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. A Fort Wayne man accused of murdering his own mother last month told police he was possessed by demons and Adolf Hitler. That's according to court documents in the case of 34-year-old Jason Stace. The Journal-Gazette reports his lawyer filed the documents to ask a judge for a mental evaluation in order to see if he is competent to stand trial. The paper reports his attorney also indicated that they'll be relying on a defense of mental disease or defect. Police say that he admitted to punching, biting, and choking Joy Stace in their home on October 24th. So then I found another one. Now this is on NBCWashington.com. And this one, hold on, got to scroll up. This one was dated May 24th, 2018. Suspected gunman spoke online about demon possession. The man suspected of shooting 3 people inside an Oklahoma City restaurant before being fatally shot by bystanders had no obvious connection to the victims or the restaurant and was legally authorized to carry a firearm. Investigators are trying to determine a motive behind the Thursday night attack that wounded 4 people, according to Oklahoma City Police Captain Bo Matthews. He said the only interaction police had with the suspected gunman, 28-year-old Alexander Tilghman, was during a domestic assault and battery call when Tilghman was 13. A police report from that 2003 incident indicates that Tilghman was arrested after his mother told police he punched her several times during a dispute over a vacuum cleaner. Matthews said Thursday's shooting appeared to be random, but noted that Tilghman drove to the restaurant and wore protective gear for his ears and eyes. It looked like his mind was made up that he was going to discharge his firearm once he got there. Matthews stressed that the investigation was ongoing and confirmed that Tilghman's mental health was being looked into. On a Facebook page that police said belonged to Tilghman, the man posted a video in which he claims his television is possessed by the devil. The page uses the same profile photo as a YouTube channel where a man that appears to be Tilghman also describes demons possessing his TV and being surrounded by computers. He calmly begs for help from a real human, saying he's suicidal, lonely, and really losing it. The director of the LGBT rights group Freedom Oklahoma, Troy Stevenson, said Tilghman is the same man who distributed flyers across Oklahoma City earlier this year, warning of demons taking over people's bodies, and a reporter with the LGBT publication The Gaily conducted an interview in January with Tilghman, who warned of demons in clone transsexual bodies. Flyers with similar messages were plastered all over a vehicle that Tilghman drove, said Ryan Biolak, who said he frequently saw Tilghman at his apartment complex in northwest Oklahoma City. Biolak said he saw Tilghman acting strangely Wednesday night. He was twitchy, grabbing his hair, and acting weird. I was uncomfortable and definitely wanted to get away from him. A man who identified himself as Tilghman's brother told television station KOCO that Tilghman needed mental health treatment, saying nobody reached out to him, he was crying for help. Tilghman was licensed as an armed security guard, which authorized him to carry a firearm, said Gerald Conkler, General Counsel for the Oklahoma Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training. The council certifies law enforcement officers and other armed personnel across the state. Obtaining such a license requires a background check and at least 72 hours of training. A woman who answered the phone at the home believed to belong to Tilghman's mother declined to comment when contacted by the Associated Press. Police said Tilghman was armed with a pistol when he opened fire inside Louis on the Lake around 6:30 p.m. on that Thursday. A 39-year-old woman and 2 girls were shot and wounded, while an unarmed man broke his arm while trying to flee. All 4 victims were in good condition Friday, according to the police. Matthews, the police spokesman, praised the 2 citizens who retrieved firearms from their vehicles and shot Tilghman outside the restaurant. They were able to shoot the suspect and put an end to a very dangerous situation. Now, this story goes on quite a bit longer, so if you are interested in reading that, again, that is on NBCWashington.com.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Now, the next story that I picked is one that's known a little bit more. This is the Hartford Courant. The killer's defense was demon possession. This was dated April 12, 2014, but the incident took place quite a bit before that. At first, the 1981 stabbing death of 40-year-old Alan Bono of Brookfield looked like a routine argument gone awry. Police referred to it as an open and shut case. But then came Arnie Cheyenne Johnson's defense, the devil made him do it. With the help of a pair of famed paranormal investigators, Johnson's defense attorneys sought to prove the 19-year-old killer was innocent because he had been possessed at the time of the killing. It would be the first time a possession defense was used in an American courtroom. Bono was stabbed several times in the chest and stomach on the lawn of Brookfield Kennels, which he managed, around 6:30 p.m. on February 16, 1981. About an hour later, police arrested Johnson, described as a small, blonde, fair-skinned man, on a murder charge. The two men had allegedly been arguing over Johnson's girlfriend before the stabbing occurred. Days after the stabbing, clergy members, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, Johnson's mother, and his girlfriend all claimed Johnson had been possessed at the time of the killing. The Warrens told police that since July 1980, Johnson had participated in at least 3 exorcisms involving his girlfriend's 11-year-old brother, David, who purportedly had been inhabited by 43 demons. During one of the rites, the Warrens told police Johnson leapt up and cried to the demon, "Come into me, I'll fight you, come into me." The Courant reported on February 27, 1981. From that time on, he was possessed, they said. Although police ordinarily would disregard such unusual claims, the Bridgeport, here's another one, diocese's involvement changed things. Brookfield priests called in the diocese after they heard the 11-year-old's story that he had recently entered a Newton house, sat on a waterbed, and suddenly was confronted by an elderly man with hooves, whose image was soon joined by men in grotesque costumes, the Warrens told police, according to the Courant. Shortly after Bono was killed, the diocese stopped commenting on the boy's case, but a spokesman did acknowledge that a priest had been assigned to investigate the boy. The spokesman told the Courant it was the first time the diocese had assigned an investigator to look into diabolical possession. Johnson was present for the exorcisms and soon began to display violent behavior. At one point, he reportedly put his fist through a chest of drawers, growling like an animal, and then couldn't remember the incident, the Courant reported. "We knew this case would end in tragedy. It was inevitable," Lorraine Warren told the Courant. "But Arnie was the last one we would have ever thought it could happen to." Before Johnson was indicated on March 19, 1981, Waterbury lawyer Martin J. Manella offered to take on his case for free. Manella's plan to pursue the unprecedented demon possession defense was widely publicized. Manella said he hoped to subpoena the priest involved in the exorcism and hoped they would break tradition and speak about the rites. Though police investigated the Warrens' claims, they maintained that Bono was stabbed after a fight over Deborah Glassell, Johnson's 26-year-old girlfriend. In April, Johnson's lawyers gained permission to examine the clothing and tissue remains of Bono, who had been cremated. They said the absence of blood, rips, or wounds could prove that demons were involved. As the case progressed toward trial, the Warrens and Manella drew criticism from their peers who said they were involved in the case for personal gain. Typical of the criticism of the Warrens are comments by mentalist George Kresge, better known as the Amazing Kreskin, who argues that the Brookfield case is simply a means for the couple to prey on the superstitions of the public and build up their annual lecture revenues. They have an excellent vaudeville act, a good roadshow. It's just that this case more involves clinical psychologists than it does them, Kresge said in his story. Local attorneys said Manella was representing Johnson to rake in the publicity and that the legal community didn't take the possession defense seriously. Both the Warrens and Manella stood by their involvement in this case. Now, if you hadn't heard about this story, this is where The Conjuring had come from. was the story behind that movie and book. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like to read the rest of that story, that's on Courant.com, COURANT.com. And that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the 3 parts of this story. Actually, I guess there were 4. The 4 parts of this story. And anyway, if you know of any real demonic possession that caused people to act out of character, email me at michelle.deadzone@gmail.com. michelle.deadzone@gmail.com. Thanks so much, guys.
Hello, this is Christopher St. Booth, and you're listening to The Dead Zone.
If all radio stations in town were palm trees, we'd be the one with the biggest coconuts.
Now,
Here are the one, the only
Dead Zone.
Okay, let's get Keith on the phone. All right, it's ringing. Hello? Okay, you still can barely hear you.
Can you hear me better now?
Very little.
Can you hear me better now?
Now that's a little better. Yeah, what'd you do different?
I'm not sure.
Actually,
I can hear you better too.
Okay, actually, that's much better now. I think we're
Maybe
okay.
it takes time to warm up.
I don't know. Well, like I said, like I had told you before I called, we were having some issues with the software here, so maybe that was part of the problem too. But yeah, I can hear you great now. So anyway,
That's good.
all right. So anyway, Keith Evans, old friend of the show, an author, and a paranormal researcher as well. And you have 2 books, The House of Haze and Ghoster People 2. So what's been going on, man?
Not much. Doing paranormal research in a couple different places, and it's keeping me busy.
Right. So what's been happening? Anything good? Anything you can talk about?
Well, I've been going to the graveside of Dr. John Gorey in Apalachicola, Florida.
Okay. Fill us in.
And I just started taking my Obelisk 5B and nothing else, and I've been getting a lot of activity. A lot of ghosts and spirits are choosing words, and I don't think it's just one ghost or spirit. I think it's a multiple group of ghosts and spirits, but I try to go once a week, and it seems like they're expecting me.
Oh, yeah?
You know, so they're kind of like gathered around in a group, and I try to go underneath the shade tree because I'm 62 and the sun gets hot in Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, well, first of all,
But I will say,
go ahead.
I usually take 2 or 3 pieces of equipment with me, and it's like the ghosts and spirits are kind of drawn between, you know, whether they should use the millimeter or the Obelisk 5 or my thermal imager.
All right.
And I find when I go to Dr. John Gorey's grave, if I just take the Obelisk 5, then they all zero in on that one piece of equipment.
You're right.
And it makes for better paranormal activity.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, I'm sure if you're listening to this show, you know what an obelisk is, right? So we're not even going to bother to explain that. I would hope that you do. Anyway, what I was going to ask, though, who is this person? Dr. John, what was it?
Gorey. He come up with the patent ideals for mechanical refrigeration and mechanical freezing.
Okay. He was a doctor of what?
He was actually a medical doctor.
Okay. So.
But he also was an inventor.
Okay, so he more or less came up with the idea of freezing a body, keeping it, a morgue, basically keeping it cold, keeping it on ice, so to speak.
Back in, I think his patent was documented back in like 1850, and he was kind of motivated by the yellow fever illness that was going around in Florida and killing a lot of people.
Right.
And his theory was if he could keep the patients cool, they might be able to survive yellow fever.
Oh, I see.
So that's when he came up with the idea for, commercializing mechanical refrigeration and also mechanical freezing.
Right.
More or less the refrigerator and the freezer.
Right. Well, that's interesting. You learn something new every day, right?
The Obelisk 5, the Obelisk 5, for those of you that don't, haven't been familiar with it, it's like a mechanical device that ghosts and spirits theoretically can use their energy to choose words from the
database
Obelisk 5.
Right. The Obelisk.
Other than that, that's the only theory that I know as far as how it works.
Right. The Obelisk has a predetermined database. So they theoretically can go through that database of words, pick those words, and have them appear on the digital screen. Right.
But I will say one thing. Most ghosts and spirits, it takes a lot of energy for them to use the Obelisk 5. So when they start to use it, a lot of times they burn out. They use all their energy up.
Right. I mean, we've had a lot of luck with the old K5. Some really interesting hits on it, and some what would seem to be intelligent responses with it, and that's pretty cool. I mean, that's compared to the Obelisk. That's Obelisk. I'm sorry. I mean, the K5s or K2s outdated, right?
But it's still a efficient tool. I've only used it when I was on tours like in St. Augustine, but I've never purchased one myself.
Right. I mean, that's Michelle's go-to. Anytime we go anywhere, that's her tool. That's her thing.
That's good.
Do you suppose that you say it's like a group of people? Do you suppose it's some of his patients that's still with him there?
I don't think so. I think it's just probably ghosts and spirits from the community. This past week, I even got words from a ghost and spirit that identified at the Hayes House when I wrote the book, The Hayes House Ghosts Are People Too.
Right.
And Mary was a young lady. She lived there. I think she passed away in her late 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But she had more like a childlike personality. She was a very nice lady, a very polite lady, and she was living with the Hayes family, and she was unable to be independent and live on her own. Apparently she enjoyed to color in coloring books and to draw with crayons.
Right.
And I got her a couple times while at Dr. John Gorey's grave. And the Hayes house is only about maybe 3 blocks from Dr. John Gorey's grave.
Right.
So if you go to the same place enough time and you start to see a pattern, certain ghosts and spirits will use certain words as a pattern. They may not give you their name, but she mentions crayons and liking crayons and interested in crayons and crayons forever. It's like something she enjoys doing.
Right. I mean, it's almost a giveaway, a dead giveaway. That would be her. I mean, if that was her thing, and that's what you're picking up, and then it's safe to assume that's who this is.
And if you do a lot of paranormal researching, sometimes it's just hit or miss. I mean, in the last, I've had an Obelisk 5 and an Obelisk 4 during the last maybe 9 years.
Right.
And you run across so many ghosts and spirits that sometimes you really have to sit back and think. Like at Dr. John Gorey's grave, and I'm trying to think, was it Dr. John Gorey's grave, or was it one of my other paranormal sessions that I was doing at another location?
Right.
But I got the word Cube Island, and that was a word that I received when I was in Fort Walton Beach, and I was near where the Air Force trained during World War II.
Yeah.
And I went there the past 2 years. And my first time walking down this one road, this doesn't happen to me very seldom, if not the only first and 2 times this has happened. Walking down this road in the same direction, it was almost like a plane was tumbling in the water in front of me.
Oh.
And I flinched, and then the image was gone. And it was like I don't know whether you would call it a premonition, but each time it scared me. And I thought about it, and I said, no, it's not going to happen a second time. And of course, this year, financially, I'm not going to have the money to travel to that location.
Right.
So this year, I won't be there to see if it would happen 3 times in a row. But for 2 years in a row, it happened at the same location, walking down the road, and it was like the same premonition of a plane hitting the water and then tumbling almost like in an opposite direction. Then I would assume it had crashed, and it was tumbling like towards me.
Oh, yeah.
And I had gotten the first year I had gotten the words Cube Island, and I thought, well, none of the islands around here are called Cube.
No, Cuba.
And then I got that I'd say about a week ago, and it's on both Cube Islands. Is somewhere located on my YouTube channel, so they're documented. So if you go through all my YouTube channel videos, you'll be able to see Cube Island. It could have been a year ago, but I think it was 2 years ago I got the word Cube Island, but it might have been last year.
Right.
And then, of course, I just got it about a week ago. So it's like the same ghost or spirit wants to communicate with me, or is communicating with me through the Obelisk 5B, and I've already told them, that I wouldn't be able to afford to be in the same location that I was in the last 2 years, so there won't be a third year in a row that the premonition can happen.
Right. Now, do you think it was...
But it was almost like the ghost or spirit wants me to look into that and to bring that up or do a video about it, or in some way honor the fact that he or she gave up their life and, had possibly crashed, or somehow they want that within my consciousness.
Right. Now,
I guess they know I'm a paranormal researcher, so
do you think maybe,
I would imagine they want me to bring it up.
Well, what it sounds like to me, and I could be wrong, that wouldn't be unusual, but that kind of sounds to me, like you said, it was near a military base, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So what about the fact that you may be
It was near Eglin.
If you're experiencing residual haunting, you're seeing that military aircraft, taking its final dive. Maybe that's what they want you to see. I don't know.
Yes. Well, in one way, it's almost like a premonition, because for a split second, maybe, 2 seconds at the most.
Yeah.
2 years in a row, when I was walking for the first time on that certain road, same place, I saw it, and it's almost like it's really happening for at least 2 split seconds, and then I realized, no, it's not really happening.
Right. That's what I mean.
But that was twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean by a residual. I mean, certain places, just these things happen. They're not intelligent. I mean, it's just replaying itself over and over.
But as a premonition, it might be a ghost communicating with me who is actually intelligent. If it was something that I heard or saw, and this wasn't, it was almost like it was in my brain, but not in my field of vision. Almost like I was there for that split couple of seconds.
I see.
It's hard to say. Usually when you get residual energy, you're sitting there, you're doing your paranormal research. I like to sit in the middle of the room just like I'm having a conversation with, a real person.
Right.
And, you'll usually hear like maybe a knock or footsteps.
Right.
And then it's like unintelligent in the environment is playing it back,
right?
Whether it be sound or visual. But this is almost like an intelligent ghost is putting this into my head for a couple split seconds, as if they're trying to communicate with me. It's not like I'm hearing a plane crash, and I can't say that I hear anything. It's all visual. Right. So I guess it may be residual energy, but usually residual energy doesn't come in that clear to the point where you can see it and you're like flinching, because for a couple split seconds you feel like you're there, or you're trying to get out of the way of a plane that's crashed and is tumbling towards you.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I see what you mean.
So it's not, if it is residual energy, it's not the ordinary type of residual energy.
Right.
I always feel like the ghosts or spirits willfully communicating that straight into my brain, which is strange because I can't think of any other time that has happened.
Right.
I've heard, like ghosts or spirits say my name, but, and that'll be, real, because usually, if someone says my name, I usually say like, yes, because I think someone's calling my name.
Right.
And of course, there's nobody there.
That right there, brings back a memory of so long ago. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's one of those things where it could be residual energy, or it could be intelligent ghosts. It's kind of like on the borderline. Go ahead with what you were saying.
What I was going to say, that brought back a memory from years ago, back when I was just a kid, a preteen. I used to walk from my grandparents' house to the convenience store, several blocks away, every weekend to get the famous Monster magazine or whatever it was that had come out that month. But there was a big, old growth, huge tree that had grown up and taken up half of the sidewalk, so you had to walk around it, right? And every time I would go by that tree,
wow.
Well, every time I would go by that tree, I would hear my name whispered, and there was never anyone there, and that scared me to death. I would get to the point where I'd just run by the tree to get away from it. That's an old memory. Wow. So I have no idea.
That's cool. There's probably someone, maybe a relative in the past. That tree was probably maybe 200 or 300 years old.
Right.
So someone in the past who was probably related to you probably would hang out or, play near that shade tree in the summer.
Right.
And they probably were just communicating.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Did it ever happen as an adult?
No, that's what I mean. Nothing. No. I get picked on by my wife all the time because I'm the skeptic and I try to shoot down everything. Well, that's part of what we do. I'm sorry, that's just the way I am. She says I'm not open enough now. I've closed off everything. That's why I don't experience things that she does. And that may be true, but no, as an adult, nothing. But I will never forget that. I still get goosebumps thinking about that.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on here. I didn't mean to get off on my personal thing there, but have you got a new?
Oh no, that's interesting. I wish I would have repetitive situations, where I heard, a disembodied voice, but all my situations. For instance, one time at the Hayes house when I was living there after Hurricane Michael, which I only lived there like 4 or 5 months, I just heard my name being called that one time. Right. And I still don't know. I try to be a skeptic too, to see if it could have been someone outside, maybe say, hey, and it just sounded to me like Keith.
Right, it carried
And
on.
The neighbor would come home for lunch. My neighbor was on the 2nd floor. I lived on the 3rd floor attic apartment. And maybe it was his TV was on and someone on the TV hollered Keith loud enough for me to hear it. Mm-hmm. But it's good to do that because it lets it lets your paranormal fans know that you're trying to isolate whether it's unexplained or whether it's something that happened that could be paranormal.
Right. I mean, a perfect example of that, years ago, we were on an investigation at a covered bridge here in Indiana. And, of course, there's the story, the backstory of it and all this kind of thing, whatever. But we had sat up there and it was pitch black, except for our flashlights, and we kept hearing the sound of people talking. And we couldn't understand. We would respond or try to get them to respond, but they never would. Well, come to find out, what it was in actuality and reality was there was a house down the stream, maybe 4 or 5 blocks away, 4 or 5, that, something like that. But they were out there talking, and the voices would carry down that stream, down the little river, or whatever you want to call it, and we could pick up on that. It took us a while to figure that out, but that's what that turned out to be.
And that has something to do with the water.
Yeah.
And like if water is evaporating and it forms like fog, the sound waves will bounce off the water molecules.
Yep.
And it'll like amplify.
Yeah.
So you can hear someone a good distance away.
Yeah, and that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. And we at the time we couldn't figure it out. But then after a little more research and thinking about it and just what happened here, what was going on, boom, that's what it was. That part was solved. But also Michelle was picking up K2 hits out there like crazy, and I couldn't. I took it from her and I tried to, and nothing. It just completely dead. Give it back to her, fireworks.
Well, I think ghosts and spirits choose who they want to communicate with.
Right.
And they probably liked her and for some reason didn't like you. And they're choicey. People, even though ghosts are dead, they're still people and they still have emotions and feelings, and they choose who they want to communicate with.
That could be. And I'll tell you now, part of the reason we were there, it was a suicide was committed there. A guy hung himself right from the bridge, and me being me, I got tired of waiting for a response, get tired of nothing happening. I did something I usually don't do,
right?
But I provoked, and I had a noose made out of some old rope, and I threw it around the rafters. And I think that may be the reason he didn't want anything to do with me.
Yeah, you're probably right. That probably wasn't the best thing to do.
No.
To try to get a response from.
Right. And to top it all off, now here's another interesting thing. While we were there, the county sheriff pulled up to see what was going on, what we were doing there, and we started talking to him. He said, "Yeah, he remembered that case," but he also pointed right above him and he said there was another person that hung themselves right here, right where we were standing. Wow, we didn't know that. But yeah, I think I did something I shouldn't have done. I pissed them off, and they said, "Skip you,"
Well, at least you had your wife there, and she was getting
she was
paranormal responses.
She was, and she always does. It's incredible. It's like almost like she has her cell phone in her pocket and it's going off, but she doesn't, of course. It's weird. It's very weird. I mean, she's in tune. She's right on it almost every time we go. That's crazy.
That's good.
Yeah. So, what's going on? Do you have a new book coming out, or are you working on anything like that?
No, I'm not sure if I'm going to do another book. It seems like most people who enjoy the paranormal would rather experience it than to read about someone else's paranormal experiences.
Right.
So I've been spending most of my time just trying to, document my paranormal sessions and try to keep them short, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and put them on YouTube. And a lot of times, you can never tell what the ghosts or spirits will do or won't do. So I try to put everything on. A lot of times, if there's very little activity, I'll try to fill the time by asking questions so people can see how what my technique is to try to get a response. You never know. Maybe the ghost or spirit might like football, they might like basketball, they might like golf. So always be willing to ask a variety of questions.
Right. Now, what you say is,
and that's what I try to do. And
what you say is absolutely true. There's been locations that we have went to, residential and commercial, that we have a great first night, and we'll go back, and it's just completely dead. There's nothing going on at all. No matter what you do, no matter how long you stay there, it's just nothing. It's like they all packed up and split.
Well, I feel that they might be low on energy, and at the same time, they may not have anything that they want to say.
Right.
They might have said it all the first night. But I try to show people, for the most part, I usually get very little paranormal activity, or it's so minute that only a trained eye would pick up on it.
Right.
And I would say as of lately, my paranormal activity has picked up. But I like to show people also when it's 15 minutes of just dead air, and I'm talking, but I'm not getting any paranormal activity.
Any response, yeah.
That way they see that, I don't always get paranormal activity.
Right. I mean, that's
and a lot depends not on the paranormal investigator. A lot depends on, are the ghosts or spirits willing to communicate?
Right. I mean, that is the way it is, and that's why we have a problem with a lot of these shows on TV. It obviously they have to do things for ratings if they want to keep their show going, but that's just not. It's not the way it really is. It really isn't.
And I'm sure they edit down hours of
weeks,
paranormal research just to get the good parts to show on TV.
Right. And again, I'm sure a lot of the parts are. I was on a TV show a while back, and I told my story. I told them what happened. I told them the way it went, and sure enough, when it came out, it was loosely based on what I had told them. You know what I mean? I think everything's like that. We know the boys, the Angus team, the Mountain Monster boys. We know those guys. We hang out with them and do their merchandise and everything. The same thing. It's all about ratings. You know what I mean? As far as TV goes.
So you weren't part of the TV program, but they kind of took your ideals?
No, I was on. I told them, I told the producer my story. This is what happened, and this is how it was. So we went and we filmed, and I filmed on camera telling my story, what happened.
Okay.
Then it got edited out, certain pieces, and the reenactors, it's kind of accurate, but not really. Just put it that way.
Are you allowed to say what program it was?
Paranormal Night Shift.
Paranormal Night Shift?
Yep.
I think I've seen that.
Yep.
They do like hospitals and...
Yes.
I might be wrong, but I think all of it's... they take the story and they always use other actors.
Yeah, they embellish with their actors. They take the individual that had this experience. They're filming you. You're telling this story, and as you're telling it, their actors, their reenactors, are portraying you and what happened and all that kind of thing. Does that make any sense?
Did they tell you up front that you wouldn't visually be on, or did you think you would visually be on it?
No, I was on it. That's what I'm saying. When it starts out, it's like a lot of others. When it starts out, you're sitting there in a chair. You got the camera on you. The producer's behind you. Cameraman on either side of you. She's asking questions. You're telling your story, and you're seeing that on screen. And then parts of what you're saying is being portrayed by the actors. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. You know, it was a great.
Yeah,
show.
that's what I've always seen. I don't think I've ever seen the person who experienced the situation ever being on the program, but I might be wrong.
No, usually the people that had the experience are the ones that are interviewed, the ones that are on the TV telling the story, but then they have their actors playing out the scene. You see what I mean?
So they allowed you to be on telling about it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely, yeah.
At least you got on. I was worried. I didn't think you got on at all.
Oh yeah. It's Paranormal Night Shift. I've got a photo on the website there. From a while back when I did it. I had to fly to. It's
been some time since I saw the show. I don't have regular cable TV where I'm at.
Right.
So it's been some time since I actually saw that show.
Right. Yeah. They flew me out to Buffalo, and that's where we shot it. And came back, and it took a year for it to get picked up by the Travel Channel.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I'm just trying to say, I understand where they're coming from because they have to embellish certain things to try to keep those ratings up, to get another season, or if you will, But if they want to do a real show, no one's going to sit there and watch you doing nothing for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, and it wouldn't fly.
Well, I find paranormal research to be so intriguing, and when you do get an intelligent response, to me, it just makes my day. So I look at it this way: if a TV producer is willing to put in the time and just edit it down and put the best paranormal activity into a TV show and base it around history of a person or history of a house or who lived in a certain house or the history of a business, I think they can tell a story and make it interesting. And then if paranormal activity is low, you can always talk about what other people have experienced, even if you don't actually experience that activity. And if you want to do a reenactment, just let everyone know this is a reenactment. It's not, say, Keith Evans doing paranormal research at this location. So, and I still think it would be interesting for people to watch, and I think it would get good ratings.
It was a great show. It was fun to do, and I mean, this one in particular, this episode or this program, it wasn't talking about things that just happened. It was talking about experiences that XYZ people had, and they're just visually letting you tell your story while they simulated with their actors. I mean, the guy that played me was, I don't know, maybe in his early 20s or early 30s, which I was way back then when this happened. You know what I mean? So it was fun.
Right. Wow, I didn't know they did stuff like that. I figured that they would interview you and then have the actors come in later, but you were actually there when it happened.
Right. Yeah. You sit down. There was a huge room with backdrops and all this kind of thing, cameras and just equipment everywhere, and you were interviewed by the producer. I mean, she would coach you basically into getting your story out, and then that's it. Then they would go off, get their actors.
Did you just
go on location and?
Did you just
say it?
Did you just talk about one situation, or did you talk about many different paranormal situations?
No, just one situation that happened over a course of 2 years. It was something really weird that went on at the. I used to be security at a local county park, and this is where that incident took place over a period of years. It wasn't just one night. It was over time. It kept happening.
Right.
And like I say, it was
That's
fun.
cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun, dude. I'm sorry, man. I've talked so much about myself now. We're running out of time. So I want to. Where can people see your videos? Is it KeithEvans.com on YouTube and what?
Let me see. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, sorry.
My YouTube channel. Oh, it's Paranormal Short Sessions by Keith Evans.
Okay.
Is the name.
Okay.
So if you go to it, you got to search for. It's almost like a sentence. Paranormal Short Sessions by Keith Evans.
Okay. Now, can people find that? If
And
they
it's
go to your
free.
Facebook
So when I first got on YouTube, I didn't want to subscribe because I thought it was going to cost something.
Right.
But it's totally free.
Right.
And my book, for those people that are in the USA, my book is only available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and Walmart.
Okay.
And it might be online at other locations too. Just check around.
Right.
And if you live in like Australia, Great Britain, Ireland, I've been told that over there they can find my book online at Amazon and eBay.
Okay. Now, can they go to your Facebook page? Does your Facebook page actually have links that they can follow or something like that?
Well, my Facebook page, Facebook shut me down. I guess they didn't like what I was doing paranormal-wise, and I still don't understand what I actually did that was wrong.
Right.
But right now, the only Facebook page is just Keith Evans.
Right.
So you can search for my name, Keith Evans.
Right.
My Facebook page was at PetCat 2006, but right now I don't know whether Facebook has me in Facebook jail or whether they're just not allowing me to post or
That's weird.
to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anyone can see anything on my Facebook page.
Oh, that's
But
weird.
the only thing they told me in the past is that I had like 3,000 followers,
Right.
and they claimed that half of my followers were fake accounts.
Really?
So I don't know if that had something to do with it or not. But now I go to more extremes to just get people to follow me without accepting them as a friend.
Right.
Because, on Facebook, you can only mainly reach about 60 to 90 people. So a lot of times if you take on a new person and they're a fake account or they fizzle out and just don't spend any time with you,
Right.
then you're losing someone that you really,
Someone that
has really liked
does
and follows you,
Right.
might get tossed off.
Right. Yeah.
And then you just think they gave up on you or no longer care to watch.
Right.
So, and I'm also on Instagram.
Right. Okay. Okay, guys. Keith Evans, our old buddy here. We're gonna have you back on if that's okay with you, right?
Yeah, that would be great. Are we pretty much done for tonight?
Yeah, we're over. Actually, we're just a little bit over, and I want to thank you for coming back on, and thank you for being so patient with our audio trouble we're having. But yeah, we will get you rescheduled again because we want to talk some more.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like time went so fast, and I
know it did.
barely talked about just a few things I did within the last couple weeks.
I know. That's what that's why I apologize.
Yeah, that would be great. I enjoyed being your guest.
Okay, that's why I apologize. I got off on myself like some stupid tangent. It happens. I'm sorry, but we will have.
Oh, no problem. I found everything you said to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, check out the show.
And I enjoyed listening to what happened to you during the.
Go ahead.
I enjoyed hearing as to what happened during the TV program. That was interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Just Google it. Google Paranormal Night Shift, and all the episodes will come up. You can click on those and check them out if you want to.
Okay.
All right, man. Thank you again for coming on, and
That sounds good. I will.
Okay, and we will talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks for having me.
If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends.
This is the Dead Zone Paranormal Radio Show.
Thanks for listening.